Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and tonight I am going to be talking about one of my favorite genres of movies and my favorite movies in that genre. Forgive me, I don't have a cowboy hat anymore, but I am going to be talking about westerns. If you're enjoying my videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Tell me something down in the comments that you like about it, something you don't like about it. If you're a fan of western movies, or if you're a fan of any of the movies I'm going to talk about, I'd love to hear from you. And let's get right into it. Now, westerns they're an interesting genre. They're not for everybody. Most of the old classic ones are very slow-paced, very slow-moving, purposely done like that. But I definitely enjoy them. Now, I am a fan of the more modern western movies, from like let's say the 70s onward, a little bit more fast-paced, a little more Americanized. But there's so many classics in that genre. Some of my favorites, The Wild Bunch is one of my favorite ones. That's from back in the late 60s. That's a great movie. That's your kind of more classic Western. Then you've got the more modern ones that I love, Tombstone, Young Guns, The Quick and the Dead, even though that's, not the most serious Western out there. You've got 310 to Yuma, you've got True Grit. I mean, there's just so many great movies in the genre. There's one from the 90s I really like. It's called Geronimo, an American Legend with Wes Studi. And I think it has Gene Hackman in there too. One of those movies that flew under the radar. Really, really great movie. Very long, very slow-paced movie, but if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend you check that out. But when it comes to Westerns, there's one movie, for me personally, that towers above all of them. My favorite in the genre, and it's actually one of my all-time favorite movies overall anyway. It's part of a trilogy, so you kind of probably gonna know where I'm going with this one. There's 3 movies in it, obviously being a trilogy. There's A Fistful of Dollars, there's For a Few Dollars More, and there is, in my opinion, the greatest Western of all time, Il Buono, Il Cattivo, e Il Brutto. If you don't know what I just said, that's Italian for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, I am Italian, but I really only know the curse words and the hand signals. I'll be honest, I had to look that one up. So, anyway, let's move on. This is one of the classic, probably one of the most defining, what they're called spaghetti westerns. This particular one was actually filmed mostly in Spain, but it's called spaghetti western because it was directed by, Italians. The soundtrack is done by Italians. Most of the crew is Italians. Most of the people in the movie are Italian. Spaghetti westerns, I guess maybe here in America they died out after a while. Westerns kind of, people had moved on to other genres. But like I said, Clint Eastwood went over there, did this trilogy. Great movies. All 3 of them are awesome movies. Again, I love movies, but I don't know the behind-the-scenes terminology. But let me just say, like the sets, the costumes, the way it's shot with the long shots, the close shots, the action. The music in this trilogy, amazing, especially in The Good and the Bad, the Ugly. I mean, classic songs. I actually have them on my phone. I mean, everybody knows the theme song from The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. Like, you can go anywhere in the world and somebody's going to know. You start like the first couple of tunes in that song and they're going to know it. But anyway, I don't want to spoil too much, so I'll just kind of give you like a brief summary of what's going on. It's got Clint Eastwood. It's got Eli Wallach playing Tuco. It's kind of Clint Eastwood's partner in crime. And then it's got Lee Van Cleef, who's kind of like the antagonist. He's hunting them. All 3 of them are kind of looking for this supposed, buried Confederate gold, this gold mine of money that's supposedly buried in a cemetery somewhere. So Clint Eastwood, he kind of plays the character in all 3 of these movies. It's not expressly stated that he's the same character. They call him Blondie in this one, but he's basically known as the man with no name in this trilogy. Now, this was the 3rd release, but chronologically, as far as the story, this is the first in the story. So he's kind of, he's sort of like a good guy, bad guy, anti-hero, maybe would be the best way to describe him. And his little partner in crime, Tuco, is kind of, the criminal. So what he does, Blondie, is he'll turn Tuco into the town because Tuco's a wanted man pretty much anywhere in the territory. I think it's set mostly in Arizona and New Mexico, things like that. So, he'll turn in Tuco, get the reward, he'll ride off, he'll stop, he'll pull out his rifle. They throw Tuco on a horse and put the noose on him, and just as he's about to be hung, Clint Eastwood's character, Blondie, he'll blow the rope up, he'll shoot the rope off his neck. They ride away. They split the money. Well, Tuco's fine with this at first, but eventually he's like, "Look, I want a bigger cut. It's my neck on this that's being hung out there." Well, long story short, they kind of situations happen. Again, I don't want to spoil it. They end up double crossing each other, and basically Tuco is now in charge of Blondie. Well, I just don't want to spoil it. It's such a great movie. It's one of those movies you have to see. I will warn you though, it's a very long movie. Okay, it's going on 3 hours, and it is that old style western. It's very deliberately slow paced, but it's so incredible. Rough it out. If you've never seen a western, definitely this is the one to start with. Anyway, so while all this is happening, there's the guy Angel Eyes, kind of the antagonist, Lee Van Cleef. He's hunting them down, and he's also kind of hunting the money for himself. As the situation is now reversed with Blondie and Tuco. Tuco's kind of just barely keeping Blondie alive. Well, something happens. They stop. They're in the desert. They've been walking forever. Tuco's on the horse with water. Blondie doesn't have any water, so he's basically about to die. Well, they come across this runaway wagon that's like a Confederate, kind of like a hospital wagon. I don't know how to, pretty much everybody on this thing is dead except for one guy. Well, he's saying, "Give me a drink of water and I'll tell you where this gold is." So, of course, Tuco goes to get the water, but he doesn't realize, in the meanwhile, Blondie, Clint Eastwood, has gone up to this guy, given him water, and, found out where this gold is buried, and now the guy's dead. So, all of a sudden, Tuco wants to be best friends again. It's just, there's a lot of unintentional humor in this movie. It's so awesome. I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. This is one of the greats. Like I said, there's comedies out there, and then there's drama, and this isn't really like a thriller. I'd say more like a drama set piece, but the humor in this, it's not written intentionally to be so humorous, but it just, they played so well off of each other. Eli Wallach, Lee Van Cleef, and Clint Eastwood, they did such a great team, tag team. No, not tag team, I mean 3 of them, but anyway. So now they're going after this. Well, while they're doing all this, the Civil War is still going on. So they get into all these crazy situations where it's like people are hunting them. They pretend to be Confederates. They get captured by the North. The situation reverses. They get put in this prison camp, which is kind of similar to Andersonville. If you know anything about the Civil War, it was not a good place to be. They get themselves out of that situation. They have to get to the cemetery, but they come across this bridge, and the Confederates are on one side, and the North, the Union, is on the other side, and nobody can cross because anytime somebody tries to cross, it's this big battle. So they find the captain who's been like kind of critically wounded, and they're talking with him, and they're like, "Hey, we'll join up, we'll take care of the bridge," and they're like, the captain's like, "No, we have to fight over this bridge. We can't let them take the bridge. We can't leave until they're gone, and the bridge is secure." Blah blah blah. Well, they end up blowing up the bridge. So the captain hears it, he smiles, he dies. Everybody kind of goes their own way. So now they can continue on their mission. They get to the cemetery, and they make a deal like, "I'll tell you half, you tell me half," because one of them knows where the cemetery is, one of them knows what the grave is. They end up coming across this mission where Tuco's brother is, and he tries to kind of suave his brother and BS him, and that doesn't go well. That's a pretty funny scene, So again, they get to the cemetery at the end, and Tuco goes running, and Blondie kind of plays a trick on him, so to speak. Well, here comes Angel Eyes into the picture, Lee Van Cleef, and they have what's known as a Mexican standoff, where it's like the 3 of them pointing guns at each other. The music in this part of the movie is just incredible, like so dramatic, so awesome. You definitely got to check it out. Again, I haven't spoiled too much. I'm kind of just giving you a general idea about the plot. I do have a tendency sometimes to spoil stuff in my videos, but then again, I'm talking about stuff that's been out 30, 40 years. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, give me a break. All right, the Cobra Kai video I did recently, I can understand because that just came out January 1st, but this is all older stuff. So, if you're watching my videos, chances are you're not worried about spoilers. Anyway, so the movie is just so incredible. Like I said, I would definitely recommend you check it out. And another thing in the Western genre that I would say is pretty good is a TV show called Hell on Wheels. It was on AMC a few years back. It ended. It's got Anson Mount in the lead role. It's got some pretty well-known actors and actresses. It's not really about the old. It's a Western in the sense it's set in like that time period, but it's post-Civil War. It's more about the trek west. That the railroads, the competing railroads, were trying to get out to the West Coast. All like the backhanded deals. Politics and backhanded deals, and imagine that. That never happens in American history. That doesn't happen today or anything. So that's a good one to check out. Again, it's kind of like more like the slimy underbelly, the backhanded stuff. The seedier side of life. But again, I guess you could consider it a Western because it's set in that time period. But again, if you want to check out a great movie, not only, in my opinion, is this the greatest Western ever made, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Again, the soundtrack, just the way it was shot, the acting, so great. I would definitely recommend you check it out. If you've been enjoying my videos, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Leave something down in the comments. Tell me something you've enjoyed about this video, something you haven't enjoyed about the video. If you're a fan of any of these movies or shows I've talked about, I would love to hear from you. And I'll see you in the next video, partner.